Hi, and welcome back to the Friendly Fox. Today, we're gonna make this project. This is a Christmas craft project that I made, I don't even wanna say 40 years ago, probably 40 plus. And I misplaced a pattern, but I put it together again. This is fun because you could make this any time of the year, but look at this. It's for hiding your Christmas tissues. So it can go in the bathroom. If you like to decorate your whole house, you can decorate your bathroom or your kitchen or your nightstand with one of these. So the tissue coming out looks like the smoke coming out of the chimney. So let's go ahead and get this started. For this pattern, you can do this out of scraps. It's not a difficult, you don't have to go and buy a lot of fabric for it. But if you have a directional fabric, make sure it's going this way and not this way around your house. I like to choose a dark color for the base. This isn't the first one I've made, so I like to make a dark color for the base, and then I like to choose a light color because it looks a little bit like snow for the roof. So I have chosen this one for the base, and I'm going to do this one for the roof. You could do it out of scraps. You only need about 12 inches of fabric. You'll need interfacing to give it a little bit of structure. And probably just a little bit of color for the appliques that go on the front, a different color than the base of what you're actually sewing the base of the house out of. And that's about all you're going to need. It might be a little bit of a complicated pattern for a new sewer, but remember, sewing is not that difficult. And if you are a beginner sewer, it's just straight lines and going slow. This one does involve some hand stitching though. This pattern's available on the Friendly Fox. What I'm cutting right now, I've just cut this piece here, and what I'm cutting now is the top piece going up to the peak of the roof. Now to make sure they match, I'm gonna fold them in half and come down the other side. Now this is your pattern piece that's going to go all the way around the house. So that's the front, the side, the back, and the other side. So you're only going to have one seam right here to hold that all together, if that makes sense. I'm going to press it. Now I've just pressed this so that it's a nice flat piece of fabric. If you want to use a heavier interface, you can. You do want a little bit of structure to this, although it's not really necessary because the cardboard box gives it the structure that it needs. But if you wanted to use a heavier interface, you can. If you're using the iron-in, which I would recommend for this project. It has a shiny side, which is the side with the sticky on it, and it has a smooth side that doesn't have any stick to it. It doesn't really matter which one you do because it's going to stick to either this side or this side. Just don't let it touch your iron. When you're pressing this, don't use any steam at all, and just sit your iron on top of it. Don't run it back and forth because it makes the fabric shift underneath the sticky bits, and then you get wrinkles where it's attached. Back over to cut. So now I'm cutting the roof. Now that's going to be the roof, and it's going to go in one piece like this. So to give this its structure, I'm going to put interfacing inside this panel too. If you're using strong interfacing, you can use one piece. If you're using a lighter interfacing, you can attach it to both sides. Okay, back to the ironing board. I'm just keeping the interfacing inside because if it touches my iron, I'm going to be really mad. So this is your interfacing. Make sure you've got the right side, because if you press it to the ironing board, it's not going to do you any good. So make sure you've got the little bumpy parts to the side of the fabric that you want, not your good side, but your wrong side. If your fabric's really crinkly, you might want to press it before you start this, so that when you press the interfacing on, it's not going to buckle the actual fabric. Okay, now we're going to go to the sewing machine, because with right sides together, I'm going to sew all the way around and leave an opening so that I can turn it inside out. Okay, we trim our corners to keep the bulk down. If you wanted to have the look of snow hanging off the edge, while you're doing this, you would stitch lace. There's a lace that you can get at the store that actually looks like snow, and you could actually stitch the lace right into that seam I just did, so that when you turn it inside out, there's actually snow hanging from the sides here. Okay, now it's inside out. I'm going to press that, fix my corners, and press it so that it looks nice.
Okay.
Now I'm going to press it so that my corners are nice and tight, and my edges are right on the edge of my seam. You can turn the steam on now if you want to, now that the interfacing is anchored not only by pressing but by stitching too. It can't shift around and buckle on you. So if I had stitched that with the lace inside, now that it actually looks like the roof of the house, it would have snow hanging down here on the sides. Okay, now we're going to put the chimney in. Now I've cut out the chimney, and this one you'll want a little extra interfacing. So I'm going to, because I'm using the lightest interfacing, I'm going to double it up. But if you're using a heavy interfacing, you can probably get away with just one layer. So I've cut it out. The chimney is lined, so it's in there and on the outside. So we need two pieces, but this is a heavily structured piece, and so I'm using extra interfacing in here to give it the integrity that I want. So now I'm going to go to the ironing board and iron the interfacing to the wrong side of the fabric. Then we're going to go to the machine and sew these two pieces together and turn them inside out to create this. Now I've only gone on 3 sides here because this piece is going to be inside the roof, so you don't need to stitch that down. So I'm going to cut off my corners. Say it with me, to decrease the bulk. That's going to be your chimney. Now I'm going to hand stitch these two together so that it makes the chimney. Okay, now this is going to be the chimney. So I'm going to do a blind stitch here. A blind stitch is when you take your needle and you come to this side and you grab just a little bit of fabric. And then you come to the other side and you grab just a little bit of fabric. And you walk it that way all the way up to where you're finished your seam. Again, if you were the kind of person that likes to do craft shows. I'm sure that this would sell quite well in a craft show. I was at one and I was specifically looking for this log cabin. And sewing crafts are something that you don't see a whole lot of anyway, but this one's certainly not. This log cabin, certainly not. Christmas cottage, that's a better name for it. This Christmas cottage. Now, calling it a Christmas cottage, you can make it, like if you wanted this in your bathroom and you wanted to do a Valentine's Day one and an Easter one, and you could do that too. But I've only ever made it as a Christmas decoration. You could go from this end down or this end up. But when you get to the end, and then I take it and come in through the fabric, down here a little bit, snip it, and then you'll never see it. Now I'm going to make the windows and the door. So just with a piece of scrap fabric, it doesn't have to be anything special, just a piece of scrap. But you will want them on there straight, so make sure you don't put them on crooked. You have to do this before you put the house together. If you go ahead and stitch the house together, there won't be any way to get your doors and your windows in there. So you want to do that part first. Okay, once you've got that pinned on your fabric, we're going to go and zigzag around here to hold it in place. My doorknob. You could put a little tiny button on here if you wanted to, but I'm just going to do a little zigzag. If you've appliqued before, great. If you haven't, go around your fabric with a straight stitch first. Now that you've got it held in place, you can zigzag. I'm using a size 8 zigzag. It's a personal preference. If you want to do a small zigzag or a big zigzag, just make sure it's tight so that the stitches are close together. This looks a little loose to me. I'm going to go around a second time. To put this zigzag through to create the window, I used a much, much smaller zigzag. You can see this was an 8, this is a 5. Again, anchor it in place. Look how cute that looks. I'm going to trim all these threads off and tie them to the inside. And while I'm here at the machine, I'm going to go ahead and make this house a home. Now I've just done a small seam there, and to lock it in, I'm going to do a zigzag right down the side. So now it's stitched closed. If you want to do any cleaning up on it, now's your chance to clip threads or do any trimming that you want to do to make it look a little cleaner. And now I'm going to press the corners. When you're pressing, line that one corner up that you just stitched and then come across to the other side because you know it'll be square. And then do this one. And then do that. We're going to attach the chimney to the roof. So just sort of pick a spot, like half of that is going to be on one side, right? So you want to sort of be in the middle of that. Remembering that the tissue box, you sort of want it like in the middle so that the tissue box isn't going way over here to come up through here. So try to keep it a little closer to the actual crease of where the center line is. So like that. And you're going to mark it that you want it sort of placed right there. And with that marking in place, you're going to cut an X. This will be the scary part. So put those two pins together. And cut like that and like that. That's going to be where your chimney gets attached. That spot right there. So on this side, on the good side, you can remove the pins and the chimney goes down into that hole. So that's where the tissue will come out, and that's the top of your chimney. I'm going to have to make that slice a little bit bigger, but that's what you're looking for it to look like. And then stitch around by hand, I'm going to stitch around these four sides here. You're always better to make the first cut a little bit small. It's worse if you make the cut too big. So better to make it a little bit too small and then come back and increase the size a little bit so that when you actually do get the right size, it's not going to be sloppy. So it'll look like that. Okay, so the camera died when I was doing the blind stitch to insert the chimney. I finished that off when I realized the camera died. We charged it up again, and now we're going to go around the sides here and attach the actual house to the roof. So on the front here, I got started before I realized. So on the front here, you're going to do a running stitch. And you're just going to hold it in your hand like that and do a running stitch across here. And then a running stitch across here. Line this peak of the roof up with the peak of the house and go down this way and then go down this way. Then go to the back and stitch here and here. And then we're going to come along and do the whip stitch on here. This is what a running stitch looks like, or a whip stitch. You can come in here and grab, and you can actually do big long sections of it and then pull the thread through. Gets a little finicky right here in the peak. Just take your time. Okay, I'm going to knot that off, and I'm going to take it inside. And I'm going to knot it again. And then just cut it. So bear with me here while we do the side. Okay, so the front and back are done, and now I'm going to do the side. I need to line it up so I can see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing. I don't know if you can see this. Lots of these crafts are kind of fun to make for kids that are away at school, or if you've got a loved one in a hospital or in a nursing home. They can still have a little bit of Christmas without having to have the whole tree and all the decorations. They can have a little bit of decoration. I'll tie this off. Yep, just like that. And now I'm going to do this side. Same way. Yeah, so I'm grabbing a bit from the roof and then just grabbing the stitch onto the house. So take a little bit of this and then just come right through here. I love hand stitching. It's a lot slower, but I really like doing hand stitching. Okay, now I'm going to knot that. Knot it inside. And that's it attached. Okay, so that's the roof attached. Now the last thing I want to do is around the bottom here. I'm just going to go and zigzag or serge the bottom, and then it'll be a finished project. So that's the project complete. It makes a great gift for a student away at school, or someone in a nursing home, or perhaps somebody in a hospital that can't have a tree but needs a little bit of Christmas cheer. This one sits in my house, and it's always a topic of conversation when people come over. It's an easy project if you just take your time. So give it a go and see how you do. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for joining me.